So how much money do you make in the first month of release for your book? That is exactly what we're talking about today. I am going to break down all the stats from sales number to royalty rates for my book, Meet Me at the Summit. It released August 31st. So we're going to talk about the money that I made the first month of release. So for the sake of this video, I tried to figure out how much money I made between August 31st and September 30th. Now the tricky part of that is that sales reports on all the print-on-demand companies don't break down that way. So I'm sure some of these numbers are somewhat inaccurate, but I tried to stay as accurate as possible. So throughout this video, I'm going to be telling you exactly how many books I sold and where I sold them, how much money I made through each print-on-demand distributor, and I also asked you guys on my Instagram page if you had any questions for this video, and you guys submitted a few questions, so I'm going to be answering those at the end as well. But really, we're just talking a lot about money and stats today, so let's jump into it. Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner, and today we're jumping into the stats of how much money I made the first month of release for my book, Meet Me at the Summit. Now, this video gets a little messy, and like I said earlier, I'm sure some of these numbers are somewhat inaccurate, and I'll tell you why as we kind of work through all the different venues that I used to sell Meet Me at the Summit, and then you'll understand why these numbers aren't the most accurate. Now, why did it take me so long to create this video? Well, for most print-on-demand companies, it takes 3 months for you to make a paycheck. So I wanted to wait 3 months to get that paycheck and make sure that that money actually landed in my bank account, because sometimes for these print-on-demand companies, they'll give you an estimated royalty rate, and then the actual royalty rate and what is deposited into your bank account is slightly different. I'm not going to go into how much of a difference that is today because, like I said, it gets really confusing really fast, and the way things are deposited is really strange. But I'm going to try my best to be as transparent as possible for this video and give you guys as much information as I have gathered to create this video. For full disclosure of this entire video, my paperback is priced at $12.99 and my ebook is priced at $3.99. So those are the prices that I used across all distributors, but my royalty rate varied from distributor to distributor. Also, another disclaimer is that you'll learn you make very little per book that you sell, so you have to sell a lot of books to make your money back. Now, I'm not going to brag and say that my book sales are like top-notch book sales. They're not. I feel like I have a lot of growth and a lot of improvement that I can make in my book sales, but for Meet Me at the Summit, I was pretty happy with the first month of release. And do I wish it was more? Heck yes, I do. I always want to sell more books, but I want to be totally real with you guys. You guys are aware of all the marketing that I've done, and now you get to see firsthand how many sales that resulted in. And I also want to note that I wasn't able to focus on the marketing maybe as much as I wanted to, because during release month, as you guys know if you've been through a book release, there's just so much that you need to do that you forget to actually do the actual marketing of the book because you're just trying to make sure the book publishes seamlessly. So keeping that in mind, let's move on. So there were 4 different venues that I used to sell my book the first month of release. That is Kindle Direct Publishing, IngramSpark, Draft to Digital, and my own personal website. So I'm going to go into the breakdown of all of those, and first up is Draft to Digital. So think of Draft to Digital as expanded distribution for your ebook. They only handle ebook, and they get your book onto a whole bunch of different websites. Unfortunately, the only place that is like super important that they don't put your book on is Google Play. So if you want your book on Google Play, you'll have to upload it manually yourself, but if you don't really care, then just use Draft to Digital. Now, I'm actually not a huge fan of Draft to Digital. I think it's a really good tool for new authors, especially authors who might want to use Draft to Digital to figure out how to format their book. but I'm just not a fan of wide distribution for my ebook. I've just found it doesn't work for me. All my books used to be on Kindle Unlimited, and now I'm working on making the switch to put them back on Kindle Unlimited. I just feel like the amount of sales I make on Draft to Digital don't add up to what I would make as a Kindle Unlimited author, and I have a marketing plan for Kindle Unlimited, but again, that's a whole nother video. And if you want me to talk about why I switched to Kindle Unlimited, let me know in the comments down below. But for Draft to Digital, within that first month of release, I sold 7 copies of my book through all their different avenues. Now, Draft to Digital allows you to sell your ebook on multiple different places, some places I've never even heard of before, but at the end of the day, I sold 7 copies of Meet Me at the Summit in that first month and made $16.62 in royalties. Now, if you sit down and do the math of 7 times $2.37, you'll notice that the number is slightly off by a few cents, because the $2.37 is like an estimated royalty rate for all the different platforms on Draft to Digital. It's not like the exact rate. So again, that's where things get complicated and messy, and that's why I wanted to mention it. But to break it down exactly, I do have the exact numbers and exact royalty rates for all the different distributors through Draft to Digital. So I sold 4 copies of my book on iTunes and made $9.52. I sold 2 copies of my book on BorrowBox and made $7.10. And I sold 1 copy of my book on a website called Overdrive that I've never heard of before and made $3.73. So like I said, as you can see, that's where the royalty rate kind of varies from place to place, but the $2.37 is an estimated average royalty for everything that's on Draft to Digital. The next distributor I want to talk about is IngramSpark. So IngramSpark is the bane of my existence. Unfortunately, IngramSpark is the only way I can do pre-orders for paperback copies of my book. So that is why I use IngramSpark. Now with IngramSpark, you actually get paid for all of your paperback pre-orders on release day. So even though it may have taken you 3 months to build up all your pre-orders, you don't actually get paid for those pre-orders until the book releases. And I believe KDP is the same way, except like you don't get paid until the paperback book ships out. I don't know. It's really complicated. All this stuff is very complicated. I spent a very long time trying to put this video together and only made me realize how much I don't know. So either way, when you hear my IngramSpark numbers, do know that that includes my pre-order numbers, not just the first month of sales. So through IngramSpark, I actually have a royalty rate of $3.31 a book, and this is actually my highest royalty rate out of all of my places. And that's not because IngramSpark is better, but it's because I give such a low discount to wholesale distributors. So that means that wholesale distributors probably don't want to buy my book because I give a low discount. But I also hate IngramSpark so much now that I don't really care anymore, and I just want to make as much as possible per book sale, because I used to do the opposite where I'd give a high discount to wholesale distributors and then I would make like $1 per book sale, and that wasn't great. Now IngramSpark gets very, very complicated because their sales reports are very plain and they're very confusing and they don't break things down, and sometimes you request a sales report and they never send it to you. So I am sure out of all the numbers I talk about today, the ones for IngramSpark are the most fuzzy. So supposedly I made $313.04 on release month. That's including all the pre-orders that I made through IngramSpark. Their sales report claims that is how much money I made during that month. Have I actually had that money deposited? No. And there's a reason for that, because of a few different things. Because like I said, the book came out August 31st, but a lot of the time the way you get paid, they just pay it in chunks by how much you sold that month. So the fact that my book came out August 31st means that if I just did the month of August, it would do the entire month of August and then not all the sales that came after the release. Or I could do September and I could do the entire month of September, but then I missed the biggest sales day, which is release day, August 31st. So that's where things get really, really confusing. But like I said, they claim that I should be getting $313, but I haven't actually had that money deposit into my account yet. I only had like $100 deposit into my account, but I think that's because the other half is the money that I technically made in September, and that I need to wait another month for. Because like I said earlier, you can sell a book in August, but then you have to wait 3 months after that to actually have that money deposited into your account, and it's very annoying and very confusing. But not only that, the report that IngramSpark gave me is just really confusing, because the sales report says I sold 86 books and made $313.04, but the math just like doesn't add up when you take into account the royalty rate of the book is supposed to be $3.31. So it's very confusing, and IngramSpark no longer has a customer service number, so all I can do is email them and wait very impatiently for a response. Okay, let's talk about Kindle Direct Publishing now, because that one is way less confusing, way more straightforward, and my personal favorite. So my Kindle royalty rate is $2.74, and my print paperback through Amazon's KDP is $3, like an even $3. For those of you who may be confused why I have so many different places to distribute my books, KDP Kindle handles the ebook Kindle distribution. Draft to Digital handles all the rest of the ebook distribution. Kindle Direct Publishing creates my paperback, and they handle the paperback sales only through Amazon. And then the rest of the paperback sales are handled through IngramSpark, but I don't typically sell a lot through other avenues besides Amazon. So typically my sales numbers for IngramSpark are extremely low, except when I do pre-orders, because then IngramSpark handles the pre-orders for Amazon. If that makes any sense, I don't really know. You let me know. So let's do sales numbers first. On Kindle, I sold 50 ebooks, and then for print, I sold 12 paperbacks, which brings us to a grand total of 62 books during the first month of release. So to break down the royalty rates, I made $117.83 on Kindle, and then my paperback made me $17.94, which means through Kindle Direct Publishing, the first month of release, I made $168.79. Which brings us to our last mode of distribution during the first month of release, which was my personal website, stoneridgestickers.com. This is the website that is for my store where I sell stickers and signed books and the book launch planner. But for the release of Meet Me at the Summit, I also sold the book adventure box, and the book adventure box included sometimes a signed paperback of Meet Me at the Summit. So I wanted to make sure I included those sales numbers, because obviously if someone's buying a signed paperback through my website, they're not buying it from somewhere else like Amazon. So for all the numbers I'm about to talk about, I only counted orders that contained the physical signed paperback, and I'm only counting the profit that was made through the paperback sale. So I'm discounting the profit of the whole box. I did math to figure out that when I sold the book adventure box, I was making $5.29 per paperback that was included in the box. Does that make sense? So basically, when I sold the book myself through my website, I was making a royalty rate of $5.29. So with the book adventure box, between the dates of August 31st and September 30th, I sold 15 books / boxes, and I made a total of $79.35. So now that we've gone through all the numbers, you can hear that even though you can sell a decent amount of books, you can still make very, very little. Because that brings us to a total of $577.80 for the first month of release, which frankly, I think is awesome. Again, I've told you guys time and time again, I really don't like talking numbers here. On one hand, I don't like people to assume that my sales numbers are higher or that my royalty checks are much bigger just because I have a large platform, because that's not the case. The truth of the matter is that as I talk to you guys here on YouTube, you aren't my ideal audience. This is a young adult coming of age book, and odds are a very small percentage of you are either interested in this genre or have actually read the book. Just because you guys are writers does not mean you are readers for this particular genre. So that means that even though I have a large platform, it doesn't always translate to sales. And even if you guys were my perfect ideal reader and this book was your perfect cup of tea, odds are still only a small percentage of you would pick up the book and read it, just because that's kind of how numbers work. When you have a large platform online, about 5% or less actually go ahead and buy the things that you talk about, and that's just the reality of the matter. So there's two sides to this. I don't like to talk about my sales numbers because I don't like the whole comparison thing. I don't like comparing myself to other people, and I don't want you to compare yourself to me, but I do want to be completely open and honest about the fact that just because you have a large following does not translate into large paychecks. But at the end of the day, I'm still really happy with that number. I hope that with every book I release, that my royalty rate within the first month increases more and more, and that I'll be able to share more marketing strategies as I figure them out with you guys. The fact of the matter is that you don't make a lot of money selling books. Just like you guys saw, I make $3 or less in royalty rates for all my books. So if I want to make thousands of dollars, I gotta sell hundreds of books. Which brings us into the Q&A portion of this video. You guys on Instagram asked some really great questions, so I wanted to take the time to answer them. And question number 1 was, how often do I get paid? So like I was saying earlier, for most places you have to wait 3 months to get your first paycheck. But I personally, now that I've been, writing and publishing books for so long, I do get a paycheck every single month. Not always from Draft to Digital and IngramSpark, because like I said, I'm not huge on expanded distribution. I don't market myself for expanded distribution. And for those reasons, I'm actually thinking of getting rid of expanded distribution as a whole. I'm already in the process of removing my ebook expanded distribution, but I'm also thinking of removing my IngramSpark expanded distribution because I really don't like working with them. I think they're not great, and that's where I'm gonna leave that. Question number 2, would I change where my books are available based on sales numbers? So I think I kind of just answered that, and the answer would be yes. So like you guys saw, I'm not selling a lot through Draft to Digital, so it's just not worth my time uploading my book there. Plus, by having my book on Draft to Digital, I can't have my book in Kindle Unlimited, and Kindle Unlimited does have some pretty good perks that I want to take advantage of. So like I said, if you want a video on why I'm switching to Kindle Unlimited, and if you want to know exactly when that switch will happen, let me know in the comments down below. Question number 3, what do you do when your sales start to dip? It is inevitable. The number of sales you make release month is not going to be the same number of sales you make every single month for the next year. Odds are those first 3 months are going to be your best months, and then right around there is when sales start to dip. Right now, I'm in the dip, but I also know December is a weird month because people are either buying your book because it's a Christmas present for someone, or people aren't buying a book because they want to save their money to buy a Christmas present for someone. So sales numbers during the month of December are always really weird, but I also know that my book has been out for over 3 months, so now I've reached the point of my sales numbers are going to start to drop naturally because everyone that was so excited about it has already bought the book. So what do you do? There's a lot of different marketing methods you can do. Bethany and I have an entire book series called Marketing for Authors where we go into all the different techniques that you can use to market your book before release, leading up to release, and long after release. And basically what my plan is that I want to look more into doing newsletter swaps and doing Amazon ads, but there are a few things that I want to do to optimize my book before I start investing money in ads. So that is a mission for another day, but I'm sure I will do a video on it once I have that all figured out. And question number 4 is, how do you reach new readers to maintain sales? So this again kind of leads into that last question that I talked about, where you do a whole bunch of different marketing methods, like the paid methods like newsletter swaps or newsletter ads or Amazon ads, which I will be jumping into very, very soon. So this kind of connects to the previous question, where there's just a lot of different marketing techniques that you can use to market your book. I plan on sharing that as I go through them with you guys here on YouTube. But again, check out the Marketing for Authors series. But one thing you can do that is organic, that you can really benefit from, is growing your social media platform, but growing it as a platform for readers. That's the one place where I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Everyone who is my audience are writers, which is awesome, especially when I do the Marketing for Authors series, because that is technically, you guys are my ideal readers. You're here to learn about publishing and marketing, so that's a book on publishing and marketing. However, this is not a book on publishing and marketing, and even though you guys, I'm sure, read books, this may not be your cup of tea like I had mentioned earlier. So for me, my real mission has been trying to figure out how to have a platform for writers like you guys, while also having a platform that targets my readers for my books, because those are two totally different things. So if you, as someone who's watching this video, want to know how do I find more readers, my suggestion would be to have a social media platform aimed at your readers, not at other writers, because yes, writers are also readers, but they're not always necessarily the right readers for your book. So I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. And once I figure out how to balance the writing audience with the reading audience, I'll let you know, but I'm not there yet, and I just can't wrap my mind around it because I feel like I need to be in two places at the same time. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have a request for future videos, let me know in the comments down below. If you want even more content, be sure to join as a YouTube member. I do monthly videos where I go into the exact type of marketing I did that month, and different income goals that I have and all sorts of things like that, so that will be linked down below. Otherwise, that is it for today, and I will see you guys next week, or perhaps next year, because it'll be 2022 and that's terrifying.